This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening, welcome to episode number 19 of the Final Round. Excited to be back on the air with everybody. We're coming to you from the North Park building here at Academy Square on Cuga Street in Seneca Falls. It's been about a month since we've been with you. There's been a ton of stuff that has happened. Western New York SuperRod's had a couple races. They've been plenty busy. There was a Hall of Fame Inductions over at Lancaster. We've got a guest with us on the line. We're going to be talking with Wil Steinbeck in a little bit. He's from out there in Nebraska. They got all sorts of sportsman action and bracket racing going on in his neck of the woods, and they built some pretty nasty cars for it, too. Jason, he made the trip in. It's always good to see Jason Oldfield. There's a good look at Jason.
Chris, good to see you again.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
It has been a while.
Now you know what July's like, huh?
July is crazy. There's no doubt. There's a lot going on between end of June to, let's call it, end of September. It's definitely the bulk of all the big races that are going on. It's been jam-packed the last month for sure.
All your series races went off smooth?
Yeah, we got. I guess we call it. We got lucky. You know, as cruddy as the summer has been with all the rain, we didn't have any rain this weekend. It was really a beautiful weekend for us when we were out there. Just overall, it went real well. And for whatever reason, I don't know. The events ran real smooth at Empire as well, and we were able to finish up pretty early and really enjoy ourselves Saturday evening, hang around. We had the Banner Engineering Customer Appreciation event and picnic, so we had 100 and something people out there, and it was nice. Yeah, it was.
When you say you finished early, what's early?
I want to say we ran the finals probably around 6:30, 7 o'clock maybe. It was pretty early actually.
That's nice.
And I will say they pushed us along, but I'm okay with that. I would rather be pushed along and be done early so I can relax the rest of the evening than drag it out until 11 o'clock at night. You know.
Mm-hmm. That's we'll get into more of the breakdowns of all that. We get into the second half of the show, but I want to welcome Wil Steinbeck to the show. Wil is a guy that we met in our travels with, mostly with Demolition Derby stuff. He's from out in Nebraska, and he has built some pretty cool drag racing cars. And we got trading some notes through the Demolition Derby world, and he sent me some photos of the cars. Wil, man, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Wil builds bolt-in cradles for cradle swaps on Demolition Derby cars. So you could just slide those over the rail, you bolt them in, and off you go. And I was asking him if he built anything for Demolition Derby, and he said no, just cars and motors, or for drag racing. It's just cars and motors, which I suppose that's pretty all-encompassing. But Wil, I know you've been dying to get out to the trees and make a couple of passes this year. Your Derby schedule that you guys have taken on has been a little challenging, but your buddies, you guys have so many cars out there. How's the racing season been out there in Nebraska?
Well, you know, my dad, that's how we got into drag racing. My dad's been into drag racing. He hasn't missed a points race at his local track for 12 years, and he still races all the time. So I still get some of the enjoyment out of that from listening to him and finding out how he's doing and stuff. But yeah, it's a little different to be in the Derby seat, not in the drag racing seat, that's for sure.
Yeah, I guess the question I have, Wil, is that I guess how do the two cross over? I mean, how did you end up getting into the Derby stuff if your dad's really into the drags?
Well, my brother's been doing it since he was 14. Demolition Derby wise. I mean, he was actually in the middle of building a 1973 Roadrunner. He bought nasty 440, had everything but the pistons, and he was ready to go drag racing. And then he bought his first pre-run Derby car, and then he didn't look at drag racing again for 10 years.
Wow.
Or at least 5 or 10 years. He did buy a 68 Camaro, and it just kind of, I mean, he threw a motor in it, but it was still pretty hard and heavy Demolition Derby. And now, you know, he's got a 67 Camaro, and it's fully tubbed out, Dana 60, 14-point cage. He's got a 1,080 horsepower, 565 cubic inch big block Chevy. So we just kind of, if it's got an engine in it, we're going to enjoy it.
That's awesome. How much power did you say that had? That was 1,060 horsepower?
It's got 1,080.
1,080.
Flywheel. Yeah.
Is that the
one compression 565?
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, the 555 is a really good motor, and that kind of horsepower, honestly, is for super gas racing. That's kind of what we're, for the most part, most of the higher end teams are all using is that style combination, so they can run a bunch of time in their throttle stops and run 990 at 165, 170 miles an hour. So yeah, that's a good combination. From a derby standpoint, I never really thought about it. I guess I'll call it a derby novice, talking to Chris about it a little bit that I do. I'm assuming that, the faster that you could accelerate up to speed, the better off you are, right?
Oh, yeah. It's, in derby, a lot of it transfers over. The engine builds are completely different. You're still using your same stuff. 6-inch rods. It's just your tolerances. Some of our engines, we have 50 thousandths play and, on our pistons to our cylinder.
Yep.
And you have to play it, it's as much as you can do there. But, yeah, we run 488 gears, turbo 400s. We used to run stall converters, but then we just realized it's just not worth it. You burn up so many more trannies. But if you got a good, long rod 383, long rod 355 instead of 488, it feels like a drag car when you're on a nice hard track.
Right. Now, rear suspension, are they all just stock rear suspensions on those vehicles?
On the drag cars, no, we're not much into 4-link. We run everything we have is pretty much ladder bore.
Okay. And what about the derby rear suspension? Are those just all stock?
It's pretty much all stock. On a coil spring car, you double the coil so you get the height. On a wagon, there's a few tricks. Best trick to a wagon is buy a new main leaf, and then you could do what you want lengthwise. We do several different things for the length of our leaf springs.
Yeah. So what car is it that you're racing now primarily? I mean, Chris just showed me your Facebook page, and a whole bunch of different cars on there. I guess the one that I'm partial to the most is the Galaxy wagon. I really like that. But is that your current vehicle? I mean, what's the current?
No.
That's
the Galaxy wagon. That's not mine. That's a really good friend, and that's his. And he has a Thunderbolt also.
Oh, okay.
Him and my dad are really good friends, and they park next to each other every single drag race, and he's just a great guy. He's older and retired.
Well, yeah, that's pretty common actually for the guys that generally own the Thunderbolts. Not a lot of 20-year-old kids can afford those cars. Right.
Now, my last project is a '95 Mustang with 427 small block Ford in it, powered by transmission, 5,000 stall with trans brakes on 2 stages of nitrous, 125 shot on the first hit, and 225 on the first hit, and then 175 on that second hit.
Now, is that a no prep car, or would you call that strictly a drag car?
That'd be what you call a no prep car. It's got strange double adjustables, all 4 corners. It's got tubular K member, tubular transmission cross member, extreme drive shaft. It's pretty much appearance-wise, it looks just like a street '95 Mustang.
Right. Now, how big is the no prep racing out there? I mean, we just had our, I guess I'll call it our first big no prep race out here. And, obviously there's street racing no matter where you go in the country. So, I mean, that happens. But as far as, organized no prep racing, we really haven't had a heck of a lot of that out here in Western New York. Obviously the 405 guys have really popularized it on TV. But honestly, I would think that, out in Nebraska, it'd probably be pretty popular.
It's only popular once you get about 4 hours away towards Lincoln. The tracks have a couple races a year that are the no prep setups, but just people aren't. A lot of our racers are in between the ages of 35 and 60.
Yep.
Sometimes older. I mean, you get the younger ones, but they're running in their street class and their high school class. And they just, just with the economy the way it is, nobody can build a car like that in the Midwest anymore. Farming's tough, oil's rough. I mean, we're just enjoying what we have. At the moment, at least.
Yeah, and I will say that's it's probably pretty similar out here too. I don't know a lot of the no prep guys around here, but the guys that I do know, there's a couple of young guys, but I would say that there's a bunch of guys out there. It's an expensive sport, is what it gets right down to again. And if you want to do it and you want to be competitive, and you got to be able to throw money at it. Not to say that you can't be a young guy, single, no kids, and go out and do it, but if you really want to be serious about it, generally you got to be further along in your career and have a little bit better finances than your typical 20-year-old kid again to be able to do it. I think around here most of the kids that are younger that are no prep racing or even street racing are your typical kids with fairly stock vehicles and
yeah.
So yeah, it's an expensive sport, is what it just gets down to, unfortunately. So now, if you the Mustang, Chris just threw a couple of pictures up there for everybody to see. Is that how often are you racing that now compared to Derby racing?
Yeah, and I haven't raced at all, nothing at all this year. It's been pretty much Derby. I don't know if Chris has brought it up or not. We were scheduled to go to a really big monster team show, and it ended up. Some bad things happened, and they ended up losing pretty much probably 5/8 of their purse money. And so now we're just trying to focus on all the local shows that we can. And so far, my brother, he was my teammate in that show, and he's hit 4 shows, and I've hit 3. And I mean, everything's been working out pretty good. We've been cashing some checks and getting some trophies. So that race is just kind of put on the side because we put so much effort into these Derby cars this year.
They built wagons for that show that I was telling you about in Geneva, Nebraska. They had the $125,000 purse that then eventually the sponsor money didn't come through, so they cut about $80,000 out of the purse.
That was one that we were supposed to go out there and do it, right? Yeah.
And we didn't feel right doing that, so we ended up backing out of that. So these guys unfortunately haven't been able to focus as much on their drag racing side of things because they've got these cars.
You plan your racing season, right? It's like, this is what we're doing.
Right.
So.
Well, yeah, yes and no. What was going to happen is they were going to go there with those wagons, theoretically, and finish those cars off or wear them out, and then they could turn their attention elsewhere. Well, after the money didn't pan out, the show didn't draw the way that it was expected, so everybody's either got leftovers or trying to recoup what they lost, because a lot of these cars to build to that level had, we're talking $2,200 shells,
right,
plus motors, plus rear ends, plus transmissions, plus braces, plus all that other stuff. So it piles up real quick. We're talking
to build it brand new. You're talking $16,000 to $20,000 to build to that level of competition.
So they're now trying to use up their cars, but the story just it was appealing to me because we found somebody in Demolition Derby who was heavy into it, just like we were on Crash Course. That was also into the drag racing side of things,
right?
And I want to know more about the white Firebird. We talked a little bit about that once before, Will. I got a picture staged of it. You've got the white Firebird, and then you've got I think it was the red Camaro right next to it with the big hood scoop.
Yeah, that's my dad's Camaro. That was kind of a funny story. It's like 2 days before Father's Day. I wasn't going to race till later on in the summer. My dad called, and he's like, man, it'd be nice if one of my boys could go race with me. So I literally went down to my shop. I didn't have a front clip on that car, didn't have anything on that car, no windows in it, no nothing. I sanded it the best I could. I shot that car at like 2 o'clock in the morning with primer. I don't know if that's the picture you're looking at. But I shot that car with primer, got the front clip on. I would literally cut the plexiglass front window in my front lawn so I could go race with my dad the next day. And it's just a standard Firebird. It was gutted. All the tin work on the inside was done. It was really nice dash, standard 60 with 456 gears, and it had a 15.5, 16-to-1 small block Chevy 400. Same thing, power glide with 4,500 trans brake. And it'd get it pretty good. It's just the problem up here, I don't know if you guys run into that in New York, is our corrected altitude is so bad. We're racing most of the time where my dad's local track is corrected altitude is over a mile high, damn near every race you go to.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, what actual altitude are you at?
Actual altitude, I think, is 48. 4,700, 4,800.
Really? I have to say, I did not realize that that was such a high altitude where you guys are.
Well, Julesburg, Colorado is where my dad would consider his local track, and they had a big deal on it in the ESPN last year. It is literally the oldest NHRA drag strip still functioning today, and it is an airport runway.
Oh.
Plenty of runoff.
The next closest track is Kearney, Nebraska, and it's actually, I think it's 2,700 or 2,900. It might be 24, but somewhere between the 24 and 2,900 altitude, just standard altitude.
Yeah, that's still pretty darn high. I mean, our tracks in Western New York around here, we're around Lancaster's about 700 feet, and Empire's about 1,100 feet. Yeah, corrected altitude-wise, normally on a hot summer day, if the air is terrible, we're usually 3,000, 3,500 feet. I don't know that I'd have to really go back and search for something that was over 4,000 feet, but I don't even think, like I said, that's really, really rare. But you guys are running in that kind of air all the time.
Yep, all the time. We're running, this will tell you how much that affects it up here. Say 11.5 to 1 compression, 355, solid roller, say 540 lift cam. We're running a 1050 Dominator on that bad boy with 89 jets on all four corners.
Wow.
And that's what it takes to get the air that it needs. And if you go from Julesburg to Kearney, which is only 2,000 foot difference, for us that's not much, but you gain over half a second, easy.
Yeah, it is pretty incredible how much that extra oxygen really lends itself to making more power. So, I mean, if at your local tracks there, I mean, what would be considered, where normally you're over 4,000 feet, if you're seeing it under 3,000, would you consider that to be a great air day?
That'd be a phenomenal day. The problem then is your car would be different, so it takes a little bit to get your dial in because you're so much faster than what you're used to.
Right.
And it never fails. I'm sure you guys run into the same thing. That lunch hour, it just seems like the whole world changes sometimes. You either go from being super fast to super slow, or vice versa. You could be running a 1090 in the morning for your 3 test passes, then after lunch, all of a sudden you click off a 1060. You're like, man, where did this come from?
Yeah. That's pretty incredible. For us, I would say most of it is once after the sun goes down around here, it gets pretty crazy. Especially you start talking 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. That's where the humidity around here, basically spikes up to 85, 90%. And it gets real tricky. Not only to figure out what was that,
especially this time of year.
This
time of year it's 85 during the day and it's getting down into the upper 60s, so you can see a 20-degree swing plus the change in humidity.
Yeah, twice this year we've been racing late at night and the humidity spiked up where the windows fogged up and I couldn't see, and because it's just the way that the weather's been this year. It's been pretty crazy. But yeah, that's the biggest, and that's hard. It's really hard to say. I mean, the humidity really affects the cars differently, depending upon the engine combination. So some it affects a lot, some it doesn't really affect that much at all. But that's where it gets really tricky, and especially now, you start talking about 1,000 horsepower car, especially coming off a throttle stop. Now you got to be careful, make sure that the track's going to be okay to be able to hold that power as you're going down the track.
We're a little bit more wild. We don't have no throttle stops. We come off that trans brake like that 565. It's got a 5,700 stall. And once we release that button, we just kind of let her eat. That's kind of how we live on everything. We let her eat. I don't know if you bracket race or not. Like the slower cars, not so much the throttle stop ones. But the problem up here is we have so many people that sandbag, and it just. My dad gets so frustrated. It is frustrating to work yourself into the semifinals or quarterfinals and lose to a sandbagger.
Right. Oh yeah. We do our fair share of bracket racing as well. I would say most of the racing that I do personally is throttle stop racing. But yeah, when we're not doing that, we're generally bracket racing just to test. And I have to say, I really need to do more of it just because of the fact that it really is, well, it's fun, number one. I mean, it's something different compared to what I normally do. But number two, it's really good practice overall for driving the finish line. So that's something that I really need to do more of. But Now that 555, what'll that car? I realize you're at altitude, but what's the best that car's gone with that 555 in it?
It's a 565, and the best it's gone, believe it or not, is we come off the line, and we got to a little bit farther in the 8s, and we let off, and it clicked a 10-0. And then and that was late last season in October.
Yep.
So we never got to run a full pass. And then, believe it or not, we got into building these damn derby cars, and that pretty much shut that down. we haven't even looked at it. We did, though. We traded the guy out of a set of these just monster derby headers for a big block. You know, they're like 2 7/8 primaries, and we thought about running them down the strip once on the Camaro just to see what it sounded like.
What size primary?
They're like 2 7/8 primaries.
Wow. Is that what you guys normally run in derby cars?
No. Oh no, we just simply got them because it was just an exotic set of like truck pulling headers for a big block.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if we ever run that motor in a derby car, would.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It would have big old monsters.
Would you ever consider? Is that motor just too high dollar of a piece to consider putting into a derby car, or would you ever do that?
It would all depend. I mean, I'm sure there's always a scenario where it's good. We've run several drag motors in our derby cars when something come up and you had to have something, you just kind of threw it in there. But yes, I think that one's probably a little too high dollar. It'd have to be a very unique situation.
Like $50,000 to win or something like that.
Oh no, we go to good old faithful then. But if we knew it was going to be a short show, 10 cars, and you just really wanted to rile up the crowd, that's when you do that. You get one of them big monster shows. You go back to your roots and you go to your old faithful that'll run till the end. It may not have 500 horse, but at the end of the derby, she's still going to be clicking.
Right. Now, how long has your dad been drag racing?
Since the 70s.
And is that his automotive passion really, is drag racing? Has he done any of the derby stuff, or is he strictly a drag racer?
Oh no, my dad hates demolition derby with it. he hates it so bad. He thinks we are. Sometimes he doesn't have the nicest words to say to us. We're hard times on these. But no, growing up is kind of everybody's story. For 10 years, I looked at my dad's Mustang, which that's what he started out with, was a Mustang. And I looked at it out of my grandpa's farm for 10 years until us kids got older, and then we put it all together. And it's a 66 Mustang coupe, and he put 289 in a dual 4-tunnel ram and had a 4-speed, and it was a fun little car. And then he just got tired of tearing it up. So in 2005, my brother and my dad had just bought a 67 Camaro, and we talked him into pulling it down to my brother's shop, and we built that car over the winter time, and then he went and won the points championship the following year with it.
Was that his first points championship?
Yep. Yeah, that's when he won his very first points championship, and he'd been back to drag racing really hard since like 2000. He just he won every race that he possibly could, and like I said, it's been 12 years since he missed a points race, but his Mustang's sentimental to him, and he's owned it since he was 17 years old, and he just got tired of tearing it up. So once he got that Camaro, he's like, well, in 5 years or so, we'll do it. Me and Larry's his brother, we just kind of took it over the winter and did everything. Did all the body work, the motor, tranny, rear end, painted it, and it was ready to rock and roll come April the following year.
So how much banter was there about getting rid of the Ford and getting a hold of a GM and then winning the points championship?
Oh, there was a lot of banter because he's been Ford, and we just kept telling him, man, you want to go fast, you better get in the Chevy. So, and the funny story, the 67 Camaro he bought was actually sitting right next to my brother's 68 Camaro when he purchased it, probably 7 years prior to my dad purchasing the 67.
Were those both drag cars to start with, or were they converted over?
My brother was a drag car to start with. Now my dad's, it is a 67 RSSS Camaro with title, and it's unmolested. It's not tubbed out. It's nothing. The only thing we've done is we've taken the grill and the headlights out. It's that red car in that picture.
Yeah, I know. let me get back to that picture.
And all we did was we put a different grill on it, and the cage is bolted in. It's not welded in. So the end goal is once he retires, or he's really talking about getting a tubbed out Chrysler, so he can have all the breeds and just put his. He's got a 540, and put it in there, and then we'll put the Camaro back on the street.
In this picture, where we can see a couple of different cars, the middle one is your dad's Camaro, and you talked about the Chrysler. There's a white 64. It looks like a white 64 Plymouth, and then there's a Nova. What's the story with the other cars that were in that picture?
That one that you're looking at, the Plymouth, that's that Thunderbolt.
Oh, that's the Thunderbolt. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It should be on the driver's side of that car.
Yep.
Or the trailer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then that Nova, a buddy of mine had that Nova, and he bought it, and we kind of helped him along with it. And then I just kind of I got it from him, and I threw a 468 in it, and went up there and raced. And I'm not going to lie, this is the worst car I've ever drove in my life. When I got on the big end at 130 mile an hour, I didn't, believe it or not, I didn't know if I could control it. I ran 2 time trials, and I put it on the trailer. I don't think anybody should have been driving that car.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty scary on the big end. It came out of the hole nice, but on the big end, it was definitely going to kill somebody.
I believe this is a picture of when that Nova was being put together. This is the one with looks like the hood, the clip, all the fenders and everything were off of it. And it's sitting in the driveway. It's already got the graphics package on the side.
That's just when I was just getting ready to go racing then. And it had fiberglass doors, tube chassis, fiberglass front fenders, pretty much the whole clip. And I just got the motor sitting down in it and getting ready to go race it.
Now, what happened to that car? I mean, you made 2 passes on it and put it on the trailer. Did you guys keep that? Did your friend keep that car, or did he end up selling it? Or
nope. No. It was. I got it from him at that point because he ended up selling it to me, and I sold it to a guy in New Mexico that said he had a buddy that had a chassis shop and he could fix it. And I said, well, it's your problem now.
Right.
Because I flat out told him, I can't in good faith sell this to somebody that's going to put a big motor in it because it walked all over the track on the big end. It was scary.
Right. I have to say, it's funny, the early 70s, 69 to 72 Nova, somewhere in there. I was never a big fan of those cars when, let's call it 20, 25 years ago, but they've really grown on me. I really love the way that I love the stance on them when you get them low to the ground, the tires tucked up underneath the rear quarters. I really like the way those cars look. They look cool.
Oh, don't kid yourself. I love the way that car looked, but I mean, it's almost like when you take too much air out of your back slicks and it just starts to walk.
Right.
This car was just incredible, and it was just too much for me. I said, man, I'll go find myself a different car. I had a really nice 68 Chevy 2 Nova that was blue, and it had a big block, 402 Edelbrock heads and a little cheater shot of nitrous, and I kind of kicked myself in the butt for that because I traded that to a guy out in Illinois for a Chevelle that ended up being that 2 chassis Chevelle.
Is that was there a picture of that Chevelle that you showed me, Chris?
I'm not sure if this is the right one. This is the burgundy.
It's maroon.
Yeah, it's a maroon one.
It's a burgundy car. Yep.
Yeah. This is the coolest car.
Yeah, I would say that is a cool looking car too. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and it was low to the ground. And I come off the transbrake on it at 5,500, and it might pop the wheels 2 inches off the ground, and she's just gone. She's shooting a 129 60 foot, and I mean it's by far my best 60 foot ever.
Yeah, that's a neat looking car. So what happened to that car?
It's in repair. It ended up having a little over 19 layers of paint on it.
Wow.
Somebody butchered the back quarters when they tried to repair it. So pulled the front fenders, the doors, sanded her down, and then I ended up stopped sanding, and I started scraping it off with a razor blade, and it just, I'm one of those. I almost have ADHD when it comes to cars.
Yeah.
It's like all cars. So as many as I can get, as many as I can enjoy, as many as I can drive. You know, my old man makes the comment that I change cars like I change my underwear.
I have to say, there's a couple of guys that I know around here that are like that. They, I don't know if it's they just get bored or I don't know what the issue is, but it's amazing some of the guys around here that, like you said, they're just changing cars constantly. And, you know, if you're not emotionally invested in them, it's kind of cool. You get to drive a whole variety of different things. And, you know, if you're handy like you obviously are and you can do a whole bunch of work on them yourself, well, you could actually turn them around and make yourself a little bit of profit on it a little bit by putting some elbow grease into it, turn them around, sell them, and put that money towards something else. So like I said, as long as you're not emotionally...
That's what's nice, is you could buy somebody else's basket case, not trying to say that people are stupid, but people that just don't understand the fundamentals of drag race. You could buy their basket case, fix it, and have a really good time. But I do have an end goal. An end goal is a 67 Camaro so that, you know, me, my dad, and my brother can all three have matching 67 Camaros.
And I have to say, that would be very cool.
And I think once we get to that point, I think we'll pretty much be done. We'll just venture from there. Now, my daughter, she's 13 this year, so she can race a door car, just have to be, I think, 11 seconds in the 8th mile, and that really hasn't picked up here locally, so we might have to do something there.
Yeah, it's funny because it really, since NHRA came out with the ride-along program for the teenagers, I have to say it really hasn't caught on around here either. I have a hard time, though. So I have a daughter who's 14 and a son who's 13, and I have a hard time really justifying spending the time on spending the money on a junior dragster for them when I can put them in a full-size car to learn the basics and fundamentals of drag racing. And, you know, right now my kids, at least my daughter, is really interested in driving my Corvette when she's old enough to do so. But, yeah, the ride-along program really hasn't caught on around here for any reason, and I don't know why that is. Seems kind of silly to spend the kind of money on a junior dragster that people are spending on them.
You're preaching to the choir. My daughter begged me to get a junior dragster. I just told her, babe, we could build you a phenomenal door car.
Right.
It would be amazing for the same price. We just have to, you know, maybe stick a Holly 2-barrel on it with less than 40 jets to get it slow enough in the 8th. But
yeah, it's crazy because I mean, Chris, really, seriously, $5,000 buys you a decent junior dragster, but nothing super nice.
Right.
But a decent starter junior dragster. You can build a pretty nice street car for $5,000.
Yeah. True.
It's actually crazy around here because your $5,000 is like our $8,000. We see, you know, when we go on the drag racing websites or whatever, we find all these great cars that are so much of a better deal, but they're out in New York. You know, New York's got some really amazing rides. If you just go on the sites and look what's for sale and stuff, there's definitely some fabricators and some awesome craftsmen there in New York. I mean, you see some really neat stuff.
Oh yeah.
For us.
But I would have to assume, I don't know this for sure. So do you guys use road salt where you are in the winter times or no?
Oh yeah, we use road salt.
Okay, so you then have the same problem that we do with regards to old vehicles. It's tough to find a older vehicle that's from Nebraska that's in good shape.
Well, now see, we're probably better than you are because here, you know, we don't get as rough of storms as you guys get. But if somebody takes the time to wash their car correctly, they stay in pretty good shape. But I don't think them old timers are too worried about washing cars. I'm not trying to be mean to them. They just seems like a lot of them are rusted out places where, you know, a simple 5 minutes of washing will fix it.
Right. So if you're going to get yourself a nice, let's call it, whether it's a drag car or a derby shell, where are you getting them from?
We pull a lot of our cars, like these cars that we got, actually, for Demolition Derby, we pulled out of Wyoming. But my mom and stepdad live in Moving to Texas, so we pulled, I couldn't even tell you how many cars we've pulled out of Texas.
Yeah.
And then drag racing, wise, I'm just a really smart shopper. You know, there's a lot of amazing deals. You can't make any spontaneous buys because you may think it's a good buy and then you end up with you think he's going 2 steps forward and that's 10 steps backwards.
Yeah, it's really amazing how, two things, I guess. Number one, if you have the cash, and two, you're not in a hurry and you take your time, you can definitely find some fantastic deals. It's really incredible. Good buddy of mine, Billy Lieber. I mean, everything he buys, he practically steals. It's unbelievable when he gets stuff, but he's got the money sitting there, and then he waits for stuff to come to him, and it's really incredible the stuff that he's had presented to him overall. And yeah, when you're not getting a deal is when it's like, okay, well, I just broke all my stuff, and now I need to rush out and grab something, and that's a good way to lose money on a deal.
Yeah, and that's a great way to lose money. But luckily, like my dad, he does this real steady. We've had it happen a couple times. He had a real nice 750 horse 468 that he was running, and he pretty much blew the whole bottom end to put it. So we put him in a small block, and he raced that for 3 years before we built him a 540. But yeah, if you sit on it, there's amazing deals out there, all the way from roller to turnkey to turnkey with a trailer even.
Yeah.
Hey.
Trailer. Yeah, I could use one of those. Especially the ones that really get me too, Chris, are recently I've seen, and I realize they're definitely not in fashion anymore. But if you wanted to get started and go fairly fast to get your feet wet, you can buy hardtail dragsters dirt cheap. I mean, dirt cheap.
Incredibly cheap. But unfortunately for me, is I'm a big guy. I mean, I'm 6'1", and I'm right there at the 300-pound mark. I'm not overly obese, but there's not a lot of hardtails with a cage big enough for me.
Yeah, and I will say that I'm pretty much the opposite of you. I'm a very small man, so I could fit in pretty much anything.
It's a plethora for you. You just got to get on the net. And,
right.
I mean, they're selling dirt cheap turnkey.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So what's dirt cheap turnkey? I
recently saw a hardtail dragster. Now, granted, it's probably not, I'm sure it's not 1,000 horsepower, ridiculous engine in it, but I just saw a hardtail dragster for like $7,500 turnkey.
Yeah, we see them all the way down as far as $5,500 turnkey.
Wow.
Nothing crazy on the motor, like you said. It's a, probably 468 or a nasty little small block, but they all have power glides and they're ready to go. And not only are they ready to go, but they're certified, or they're only 1 year out of certification.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's a car that that one that was $7,500 that I saw around here. I think it ran 550s in the 8th mile. I mean, that's pretty darn quick.
Yeah.
That's getting with the program. It's so funny down here. Like in the town that I live in is McCook, and we have a drag strip 2 hours to the west and 2 hours to the east. So all these younger kids and stuff, they don't understand it. It's just so funny to listen to these kids talk about their 10-second, 140-mile-an-hour factory car, and then once they get to a track, it's just amazing to see that it's not as fast as what they thought. That's what we deal with around here.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
and I don't know.
I know the hardtail dragster, this one that I saw just recently. Not that I need it because I don't have any place to put it. But I literally thought, I literally thought I should buy that car and strip it because I could part it out for far more than what it was worth. I mean, it had a Biondo Mega 450 delay box in it. It had all the gauges. I'm like, there's a lot of money in this car.
Right.
Now, granted, just because it doesn't have a and if you really wanted to, you could take it to your local chassis builder and have them back half the car and put a 4-link in it for a few $1,000s. But what a great way to get started, for God's sakes. Buy yourself a hardtail dragster, go out, like I said, get your feet wet, make some passes, and all right, now you want to become serious, you want to be a better bracket racer, you want to go faster, all right, now go ahead and do that. But I have seen rollers, really nice looking rollers with all the electronics and everything else for $5,000. That's just incredible to me. I can't believe that.
I want to get my feet wet with a wagon like Mike Haynes. That's where I want to get my feet wet.
Well, yeah, you're not going to find that for $500 or $7,500. That's
a wheel standing wagon.
Yes, that's the problem. I mean, Mike's.
Well, that orange wagon, Orange Crush, that's a wheel standing wagon.
Will it?
Can you get it for $5,000?
Yeah, I don't.
You could probably sit in it. crazy thing is he built his grandson a car, and it's pretty much the same thing as a Thunderbolt, only it's not a Thunderbolt. It's a beautiful orange Galaxy that he is Ford through and through. It's amazing.
So I'm guessing it's Ford power plants then, too.
Yep, Ford power plants. Yep.
What's
and
in the...
here, you know, those cars are running, I think they're running right at 1050, 1060 up here, so if they drop down to sea level, they'd be pretty deep into the nines.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
What are they running for motor combinations in those? I know you said they were Fords, but what specifically do you know?
Just your standard beefed up, nasty little 450s and stuff.
Yeah.
429, 428. The orange car, which is his grandson, it's got a little small block in it, and I'm pretty sure, I'm almost dead certain it's a 4-speed. I've only seen him race a couple times. They just bring it out when his grandson comes to see him or chooses to go to the races with him.
Now that wagon, is that a back half car only?
It's not even a back half car.
Oh, it's original stock rear suspension.
Yeah, it's a little tire car.
Oh, yeah. Now I can see a picture of it. Chris put up now. Yeah, that's another. I have to say that's another thing that's really grown on me as I've gotten older, and I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because I'm just turning into an old dork, but I always hated wagons when I was a kid, and I love wagons now. I really do.
Chevy-wise, I always wanted to build a 74 through 76 Chevy wagon and put a nasty blown big block in it and back half it. But when you're in a derby and you just can't seem to bring yourself to drag race it when you know you can crash it.
Why would you waste a clamshell wagon on a drag strip, right?
Right, and it sounds crazy, but yeah, that's the exact thought that goes through your head. Why would I do that? That's stupid. Destroy it. The crusher.
That's why your dad doesn't like what you do.
No, he don't mind so much that we destroy him and crush him. He just thinks it's a complete waste of time to spend all your hard-earned energy and money on a junk car that you have to build again next year. I said that in the nicest way. He doesn't say it like that.
Yeah. True. I mean, there's people that don't understand it, but it would be neat to see. It would be neat to see a clamshell go down the track like that. That would be pretty sweet. 10-second round back. Well, I'm into it.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And that's just it. You know, I got out of Derby and periods for like 5 years until, you know, not this season, last season. My brother asked me if I'd run a team show with him. I ended up being the Geneva team show. We went there and we did well. And I hate to say it, but man, just the adrenaline you get behind a Derby car, I mean, it just surpasses that of a drag car. That car's really fun and it's enjoyable, but just something about being in the seat of a Derby car, it's just nonstop.
You get the rush of the launch off the light when you step on the throttle, and you get the thrill of the car accident.
Yep. Well, like for me, I just love that rush of that trans brake, man. It's just, you know, which if I was smart, I'd leave it like 3,300 or somewhere around there. But if it'll line 57 before I got to let off, that's what I'm going to take her to. Big block, small block, nitrous doesn't matter. That's where she's leaving the line.
Now, is there any rules Derby-wise as to like what you guys can run for tires?
Some places. It depends on the show.
Some places you can't run any bigger than 16-inch tall. And then I've been to some places where I've seen as big as like 32, 1050 boggers on the back.
Yeah.
I mean, they're generally. The derbies are all generally on dirt, right? No.
Generally,
yes?
around us. Like you get more towards you guys, and I've seen some more asphalt derbies.
Yeah, there used to be asphalt derbies at Holland. They've had them at Lancaster before.
Oh, no kidding.
They just soap the track. They use a solution with like Dawn dish soap to slick the track off.
Uh-huh.
Which is counterintuitive because you guys are adding stuff, but the drag strips are adding stuff to help get traction.
Right, right. Well, again, I'm thinking that, if I want to do the most damage I can do is basically getting the momentum of that mass up as quickly as possible. So, yeah, it's like, all right, I'm at a stop. If I could put a bigger tire on that car to get myself better traction, I'll put a trans brake in that car, and every time I come to a stop, launch off the trans brake and...
Me and my brother actually flirted with the idea of putting two pretty mild big blocks in and running our trans brake training.
Right.
Run run a pro brake, so that way it won't move backwards unless you're
right
hitting that button.
Yeah. But that's only going to help you though if you can actually get the power to the ground, right? If every time you let go of the trans brake, the darn thing just blows the tires off the car, why bother?
Kind of, you would think that, but that's not generally the case. Because sometimes, them 4-speed guys, that's where they have the advantage because they get on you, they push the clutch in, they wind at 8,000 all night, they dump that clutch, and it makes a difference. Just like in mud bogging, say when you're starting to slow down and you stick that thing from third down into second or even into granny, and you get that little bit of lunge even if you're spinning.
Oh. Well,
I think it does make a difference.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, and like you said, with the pro brake, basically someone's going to hit you. You could just let off the trans brake, and now you're back in neutral again immediately.
Yep.
You guys with your strategizing.
It's pretty interesting. I never really thought about it. I mean, it's the Derby stuff. I mean, really, my experience with the Derby stuff prior to coming on the show and hooking up with Chris was I thought that it was all just county fair stuff where a bunch of guys go out, they get junk cars, and they smash them up, and the winner goes home with $500. That's what I thought. So, yeah, it wasn't until I started hanging around with Chris. It's like, what? These guys are building special purpose cars and racing for big money?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and, there's so many different, every engine builder's got a different style. It's no different than drag racing. You're pretty much getting 80% the general knowledge, the general things they're doing to the motors. It's just who you feel more confident or comfortable with, and a lot of it is customer service. A lot of that relates the same both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could have a really great engine builder, but if he never calls you back, or he never texts you back, or he never gives you any information, you're not going to go to him because you need that information.
Right.
You need the valve lash, you need the timing, you need, the jets, you need all that stuff. You need to know what's going on. And if they're, little things like pin in the distributor, stuff like that, you got to be able to talk with people.
Yeah, that's it's definitely a there's a lot of similarities obviously between them, but it's definitely a different mechanically, but it's definitely a different world. And I mean, again, the amazing thing to me is just the fact that how much money you guys they pay in the Derby stuff. It's just incredible to me.
And that was the thing that, I mean, we were comparing notes one time. I was shocked at how little the drag racing stuff pays.
Well, it doesn't pay anything. I remember I got third one time, and they said, "Thanks for coming." All right. Woohoo!
Well, yeah, that happened to a buddy of mine recently with a fairly fast car that runs 478 miles on a single stage of nitrous, and it's got a 706 cubic inch motor, and went out and lost in the semis, and it was literally 3 cars lost in the semis, and he went to collect his money, and they're like, "Oh, we only pay first and second." Like, what? I have a $75,000 piece sitting here. I just ran like 6 rounds to get here to take third place, and I get nothing.
Yeah, not even a trophy. Just a thanks for coming.
Right.
That's what's a little upsetting, And as far as our Derby world, where we're at, we have a semi-local promoter that pays down probably just as good, if not better, than anybody I've ever been around. I mean, a lot of derbies, they try to pay the winner the most, but he seems to really have a handle on this. And like from first to second, the only difference is $200.
Yeah. And that's nice. I mean, I have to say that with the Western SuperRod Association that I run, we usually pay, I'll say, $850 to $1,000 to win for 4 rounds of racing. Runner-up is usually half of that, but we still pay third and fourth at least $150, and you're talking about an entry fee for $75. So you make it a couple of rounds, you're going to go home with a little bit of extra money in your pocket, and it's amazing because in a lot of cases, depending upon the number of cars that we have, a lot of times you win first round, you're still going to get $40-50 just for winning first round, and guys really appreciate that. They're like, "What? I have money coming?" It's like, well, yeah, I like to spread the wealth rather than doing the winner take all style of racing.
You had a couple races while we were off.
Yeah, we did. I would say Harry Phelps, defending champ Harry Phelps. He didn't win either one, but he runnered up both days. Yeah. He lost Saturday to Lance Pinot and Sunday to Doug Linden. But I told Harry on Sunday, I'm like, man, you know what? You're a tough out. He just doesn't make big mistakes. He doesn't beat himself, and that makes him hard to beat. There's other guys out there. I mean, I'll raise my hand right here and volunteer, right? I mean, I think it was it Saturday? I can't remember if it was Saturday. Might have been Saturday that I left before the tree was activated. No, Saturday, actually, I just red lighted on Saturday. That's right. The Saturday I just red lighted by 1,000. But it was actually at a TNT race the week before. I left before the tree was activated. It's like, that's stupid. I mean, I beat myself. Before the race even started, I beat myself.
Same thing. I get in my own head, and a lot. That's my old man. We built my old man the most consistent car, period. And he gets inside of his own head. And we try to get him calmed down, and don't get me wrong, we don't go to a lot of races that he goes to, and unfortunately this year I don't think I've been to one of his races this year. Just between family and derby and everything else, just hasn't happened. But he just beats himself.
Yeah. The mental aspect is a big part of it, and you get into your routine. It's nice to have your routine, but the instant that your routine gets disrupted, you have to be mentally strong enough to overcome that and not let that rattle you. And in most cases, it does rattle people, and that's when they start making mistakes.
Yep.
And unfortunately, with drag racing, is that more than likely you make one mistake, you're probably going to lose. Your day's probably done.
Yep. And that's just it, we've had a lot of cool things happen here. I don't know about you. Me and my dad were testing here 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. First race of the season, we left the starting line. When we got to the finish line, it was snowing on us.
It was what?
Snowing out?
I can't even make that up. Yep. When we left at the green light, it was cold, but it wasn't snowing. When we got to the finish line, it was snowing on us. Needless to say, we didn't finish that race. The race day, at least. But yeah, it was snowing on us at the end of the quarter.
This here, the black car on the front of this trailer is Larry's car. That's the one that's got the 565 in it. And then the blue Malibu behind it, that's the car. You don't have that car anymore, or you still have it?
Nope, it's gone. At that time, it had a 468 10-den power ride and a good 9-inch, a Dutchman 9-inch in it.
I was just thinking, since the wheel standing wagon isn't something that's going to pass, I would be content with Scott's car too. Scott's got that Chevelle. It's a 1970 Chevelle SS.
Yep.
The license plate says 11 second, but he's down in the 9s now. He's got it way faster.
Oh, that car's for sale, too.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I feel like he's the kind of guy that every car he has is for sale.
That could be. But yeah, I saw the car out at Empire, or I'll say a month or so ago, and I saw that he had the for sale sign on it, and it's like, man, I'd love to buy that car. That's a really nice car. That's a sweet car. But yeah, that's not a $5,000 or $7,500 car.
I had a Magnum. I had 2 Magnums, actually. I think that might be the place to start. Because I bet you can get a Magnum cheap.
They're
the Magnum wagons, not the Magnums from the 70s.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I know the Magnum wagon. Yeah, and my uncle had one of those cars, and I have to say, I looked for one a few years ago. It's unbelievable, actually, how much they held their value.
Yeah.
They're still pretty down. Well, at least, again, a few years ago, they were fairly expensive still. Because, I always think it'd be a fun car to have, essentially, as my everyday driver. Toting all my demo equipment around and stuff like that for Banner, that, it's like, all right, great, I have a wagon, be nice, but it's still a fun car to drive around and, kind of stylish. But, they were too expensive for me.
They were nice. I loved having those. Now I have a minivan, which is not nearly as cool. I took the Magnum to an SCCA Pro Solo event in, it was at the Santa Carmen Depot.
Uh-huh.
Is where it was, and they put me in the class with the Chargers and the Camaros. There was a BMW in our class, and there was a Datsun 240Z, and I've got this lumbering 6-cylinder wagon.
Right. Speaking of minivans, I don't know why this crazy idea just came about, but have they derbied minivans?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So is it specifically a minivan class?
it's minivans or it's compact trucks and vans. So it's like Jeep Cherokees and Dodge Dakotas and Durangos, and small body Blazers and minivans. Around here, they still allow the Chevy Astro and GMC Safari to run with the minivans, which is the ultimate in terms of minivans. Yeah, it's
really
because they're mammoth, you know.
Huh.
But Dodge Caravans, the 80s version of the Caravan.
Yeah.
Those are pretty hot tickets too. All the Caravans, Town and Country minivans, those are all tough. Like if you can get any of them from like 85 to 02, all of them hold up pretty well.
Huh.
We just went to a derby on Saturday.
Which one was that?
Smorgasbord. Had a smorgasbord, pretty much run whatever you wanted to run.
Right.
Unfortunately, not too many. Well, I think only 2 showed up, but it was like just whoever wanted to run could run, as long as it wasn't a big body car. The big thing around here, and I don't think it's really taken off around the United States yet, is we do what they call a 90s and newer around here, where you just literally go get something 1990 newer, you knock the windows out, radio still works, move the battery, and derby.
Wow.
Obviously take the airbags out. And it's just kind of a one run and done deal. Instead of having heats, it's just you have 2 or 3 main events. And whoever wins, they win their money and their trophy, and they go on, and then the next main event comes out. And they're actually really neat to watch.
The one and dones are really, really gaining traction a lot because you don't have to bring anything. Once you go through tech and you pass, if you know you're built to the rules, you don't have to fix anything. You don't have to cut anything. You don't have to bring torches. You don't have to bring welders. You don't have to bring extra tires, no jacks. So you show up, you get teched, you pass, you run it, and they use a loader to put it on the trailer and you go home. It's so much easier than the old style.
Yeah, that's what this derby ended up being. I mean, I don't know how familiar you were with the rules for Geneva, but we brought 2 limited road wagons to this GSA, pretty much mod cars, protectors, tranny protectors, loaded bumpers, hump plates, 1/4-inch plate everywhere. We just have 1/8-inch plate. We ended up going over there and we dominated pretty good. And then that's me and my brother's car were exactly the same. They kind of got to whine about some team driving, so I just broke my stick and pretty much motioned to Larry, just go take care of business, and he ended up getting second. So we had a good weekend, or a good night there. And then Friday night went to a local fair and I won that show. So this weekend was a pretty good weekend. I guarantee I profited more in one weekend than I did the entire time I've been drag racing.
Let's make all of our drag racing fans angry. There it is. There's a picture of the wagon.
Now, I'm curious, Will. So, I mean, normal tow. What's your normal tow to your local track? How far is that?
Yeah, you said it was in Colorado, right, Will?
It's about an hour. Or the local drag strip's 2 hours. You can either drive 2 hours to the east, or you can drive 2 hours to the west.
Okay.
90% of the time I go west because that's where my dad's track is west of me.
And how many cars do they get out on a regular basis out there? Is it, jam packed or?
I wouldn't say it's jam packed, but you probably get. I'm probably trying to be honest and not over exaggerate or under. Probably 60, 70 cars.
Okay.
Between all the classes, between street, high school, street, sportsman, pro, and super pro.
Yep.
And that's not including the juniors, because I don't know. There's more juniors that come out of the woodworks than you'd ever imagine.
And from your comment before, it sounded like that was a 1/4 mile track, but you typically run 1/8 mile.
No, we don't run 1/8 mile. There isn't an 1/8 mile track for a long ways from us. Everything we do up here is 1/4 mile.
And all the tracks, even though the tracks are 1/4 mile, they all run 1/4 mile?
Yep, they all run 1/4 mile. Now, they do have some, like the no prep stuff, that's 1/8 mile.
Yeah.
They do some 1/8 mile racing, but 90% of the racing up here is 1/4 mile.
I just pulled it up. If it's a long way for you to find an 1/8 mile track and you're willing to make a tow, your Mustang could run with the Mustang on Mustang, the Mom Series.
Yes.
And you could use the 2 car and bring your dad's car or your brother's car, and it's a hop, skip, and a jump. It's only like 16, 17 hours to come from Lincoln to here. I don't know how far you are from Lincoln, but
Add another 3.5 or 4 hours to that.
Okay, so it's
20 hours.
It's less than 20 hours. I mean, what's 20 hours between friends, right?
That's a short drive. And that's, my brother's Camaro, that's pretty much what he focused all the time. He wanted to run 8s. He wants to run no prep because, he's got the potential to run a 20-inch wide tire on the back, and that was his whole goal. But then it just never has taken off. And I think that's the biggest reason why we haven't got hard and heavy with it, because we are younger. We're the younger group, and that does entice us more. Heads up is way more enticing than bracket. Don't get me wrong,
right.
bracket's fun. It just has its aspects. But when you're heads up, it's, you just, once you let off that button, you let her eat and let the best man win.
Right. I will say, I mean, it looks...
The No Prep group was out of Texas, weren't they?
Yeah, the Mike O.C., the National No Prep Association, they were out of Texas. I'm not sure where they run overall. They were the ones that just came up here to Empire and put on an event up here. But, yeah, I mean, they're based out of Texas someplace, and I would guess that they probably run closer than 20 hours away from you. But, yeah, I would definitely check that National No Prep Association out.
If it's down like the Dallas area, it's still a good 14-hour trip.
I have to say, my guess is that aside from your local racing, probably most of your tows where you're going is probably going to be a long way, right?
Oh, yeah, a long ways. Great Bend, Kansas has a really great track. I mean, I've never ventured down there. I've had a couple of buddies venture down there. One buddy went down there for a no prep, and he's got a 70 Nova, big tire, toughed out car on nitrous, small block nitrous fed, and he got out of the groove and damn near ate the wall, and that pretty much told me I don't want to go there. Last thing I want to do is eat a wall.
So if you guys are going to Colorado, that means you're on the western side of the state.
So I am 15 miles from Kansas, and I am 70 miles from Colorado.
Okay, all right. And I'm trying to think. I mean, what big track is? I mean, how far is Bandimere? I mean, Bandimere's got to be not too far, right?
Bandimere's about 4.5 hours. Bandimere's really close.
Okay. Really?
As far as that goes. But the only problem with Bandimere is it just gets, for somebody like us to travel 4 hours to go up there, it's just so jam-packed. You're lucky if you get one-time trial, and then there's, hundreds and hundreds of cars, and we don't do this like your super, super serious racers do, where they race Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night.
Right. I have to say, though, if I had been you and I had been 4.5 hours away, I might have seriously considered going up to Bandimere for that World Series of Pro Mod that was out there last weekend.
Yeah. We were busy derbying.
That's not the answer I wanted to hear.
I know it's something hard. It'd almost be really nice if you and Chris could maybe get together with somebody and get you in a derby car this once, because it's just a completely different adrenaline rush. And like I said, I was out of it. And then my brother said, "Hey man, why don't you run with me?" And then I don't know what it was, man, but it pulled me back in. And when it pulled me in, I went full bore. Same thing. Built motor, built tranny, built rear end, and kind of went crazy.
Got to do it. You got to go all in, right?
I will say the one thing about drag racing is the fact that it's very short, right? You get the very short adrenaline rush that lasts for, if you're running 1/8 mile, 6 seconds, you're running 1/4 mile, 10 seconds, and that's it. And it would be fun to actually race something that lasted longer than a few seconds at a time. And whether it's circle track or dirt. What was that?
Hardest part for me is I have 3 kids. All of them are under 13, and my wife. And it's really hard to hold their attention through, if we're racing pro class, then you got to race super pro, and you have to go through all the rounds before you can get back to you. And it's hard to hold their attention and keep them happy at a drag race.
Sure.
For me, it's great because I'm the one racing. I'm the one, even if, say, only 25 cars show up in your class, then your emotion, for me, gets even higher because I know my chances are even better.
Right.
And that's all you're focused on, and then your kids are like, it's hot, this is boring, and because they've seen the same cars run all day. And so with derbying, my kids and my wife has never missed a derby. My kids, love it. Win, lose, draw, whatever. And we try to get out and shake hands every time, but sometimes you get some emotions, and it's just a lot more fun for my family, I guess.
That's probably why my wife and kids generally don't come to the racetrack, and when they do, my son is typically never leaves the motorhome. He's in there with his laptop most of the time.
The sun is bad. Don't go outside.
Yeah, that's right. I can get my daughter to come out. My daughter will come up and at least watch me race. But I have to say, I don't know that any of them would want to go sit in the stands. They want to watch their old man race, but other than that, I don't think they really care much.
In the stands? You mean like with commoners?
Yes, exactly. With commoners.
That's just it. Like when my oldest daughter goes, I make her a big part of my dial-in, and if she says a dial-in that I don't like, I still write it on the color, and I just try to do the best I can. So, because the more we can get these younger crowds, girls, boys, doesn't matter. I mean, if not, all this stuff's going to die.
Right.
Derby,
that's right.
Racing,
yep.
Track, mudding. I mean, we got to get them focused and interested. And that's why Hastings, Nebraska here, we have a motorplex. And I think every Friday night they have street races out there.
Okay.
Run a tubbed out car. You can't run. I mean, it's not meant for drag racers. It's meant for kids.
Right.
To go out there, not kill themselves on the streets.
Yep.
And they can have grudge matches all night long. And they can kind of, as we all know, if you're working on any type of motorsports, you don't have time for drugs or alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
You have to stay focused. And if you want to be competitive, that's where all your time and energy goes.
I would say, nor do you have money for it either.
Right. I mean,
is that no prep? Is that no prep push out there tied at all to your proximity to Oklahoma and Texas, and given the influence of street outlaws?
In more towards Lincoln, like, are you familiar with the Beater Bomb?
Mm-hmm.
The Beater Bomb Mustang.
Okay.
He's from Nebraska, and he's done amazing things down at like Armageddon and stuff like that. But it's not as big as you would think, because all these damn farm kids, they got, they're all into the diesel pickups, jacked up diesel pickups, rolling coal.
Burning dinosaurs.
Not really into and they're not really into drag racing. And the ones that are into drag racing, I mean, we deal with it everywhere. The ones that Daddy bought them a new Camaro, and they swear up and down because the best drag racer in the nation ran 11 seconds in Houston, that they're running 11 seconds.
Right. So are the tractor pulls big out there?
No, nope. They're not big. I mean, it's kind of one of those deals. Once or twice a year is all you get them around there. It's not really, to be honest with you, Demolition Derby's probably one of the biggest motorsports. Obviously, we have circle track, but circle track's everywhere.
Yeah.
And our local track shut down and stuff like that. So it's not big anymore. And, even if that Demolition Derby's not big around here, it's just nobody's much into motorsports.
Right. Yeah, no, I have to say, it's definitely sad. I mean, in the last week, I saw one drag strip that just closed down, and the owners tried to sell this drag strip for a couple of years. I forget exactly where it was, but they tried to sell it for a couple of years, couldn't sell it, and just sold it to some type of land developer, and they're going to turn it into a housing complex or something like that. And, the other one, it was I just read it today quickly or yesterday, and again, it's another track that's for sale, and basically they're saying January 2018 is going to be it unless we find someone to buy the track, and it's really sad to see that. The type of drag racing that I do, I've already told people that throttle stop racing is definitely we're a dying breed. People don't want to do it. We grew up on it basically. So for us guys that are in our mid-40s and older, we think it's cool, but there's not a lot of young guys that are into throttle stop racing, and unless we start getting the younger kids into it, it's not going to be long before the throttle stop racing is gone from this earth.
It'll be more of a nostalgic thing. It'll be like the Angular cars coming in. You'll just have to go in groups, like around here with the Rocky Mountain stick shifters, and they bring out all the just amazing 41 wheelies and old Chryslers and old Camaros and old Fords, and they just they let them hang with them 4-speeds, and it's amazing to watch. But that day's done. It's history.
We saw
nobody can.
The GRS is running in Kentucky this week.
Really?
Did you see the pictures that were loaded? A bunch of the guys from GRS. Bill Curtis posted a bunch of pictures. There were some gorgeous cars down there.
Is it?
Don't ask. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's probably they have. I forget what. They have a big event out there every year, so that's probably what they're doing. They're probably going down there. Yeah, we have a couple of Gasser series up here that are fairly popular. The GRS, the Gasser Racing Series. There's the Gasser Gang of Western New York, and I know the Southeast Gassers.
Beach Bend Raceway.
What was that?
Beach Bend Raceway.
Yeah, Beach Bend's a historic track, and I know they have something going on this weekend. I bet you that's what it is. It's a big event, but Quayne Stott, he's got his Southeast Gassers, which looks super fun. There's a lot of guys that are doing that now, and I guess the only reason why I haven't done it is number one, my car wouldn't fit into that class, and number two, it doesn't pay anything.
Right.
You're definitely doing it for the fun. There's no doubt about that.
Talking about tracks closing down, Topeka, which is a huge track, I think it's going to be okay this year, but last year we didn't even know if we were going to be able to have ET finals there.
Yeah.
They hadn't paid their water bill. It's like a $300,000 bill with all the bills. Nobody mowed. Nobody took care of the grounds. It looked horrible when we were down there racing. When my dad was down there racing last year for the ET finals.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, I have to say, it's one thing that's been nice around here is that we've had a bit of a resurgence here lately. Our one local track, Lancaster Dragway out of Buffalo, they've put a little bit more effort into their program over the last couple of years. And Jerry Scacia recently bought Empire Dragway a few years ago, and he's just put a bunch of money into there. And the nice thing is that he's an ex-drag racer, and he's retired and basically sold off his businesses, and the drag strip for him, as long as it breaks even, it's a retirement fund for him. Eventually he'll sell the track, but he's not looking to try to make money. He just wants it to support itself, and if it supports itself, then he's happy. And it's been nice. It's been real nice.
Well, that makes a difference. Here about 15, 20 years ago, we had a guy come in from out of state. He wanted to put in a drag strip about an hour from me. And from my dad, it was going to be perfect, and the city turned it down.
Yeah.
They didn't want the noises and stuff like that. And if we can't figure something out, motorsports are just going to be, they're already dying. No matter what motorsport you look at NASCAR. Look at the stands for NASCAR
right
now,
Yeah, but there's more at play than just lack of interest with NASCAR. NASCAR has been doing that to themselves.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. But for our local motorsports, and I believe that we've kind of lost the hot rod way. One generation quit, and that really affected the generation that come up next. And there's no longer anybody out there. You can't go to your local neighborhood and find at least one hot rod in somebody's garage anymore.
Right.
There's no video games where you can tune on a 350 or 454 either.
If there is, it's nowhere near as fun as killing zombies or whatever else they do.
Right. And a lot of the cars now, you can't work on it. I mean, when you were a kid, you could buy a car that you could work on, and now it's all so computerized. You gotta have a rocket degree.
Yeah, you gotta have, even just to build a new LS and put it in the same vehicle that it come out of, to rebuild it. If you add a cam or you add this, you add that, you have to have the program downloaded on your computer. You have to be able to have the sense to tune it to begin with. It just turns into a nightmare. And for us here in the Midwest, you don't have a tuner shop just right on every other corner. You got to drive upwards of 2 or 3 hours to get to somebody that actually knows what they're talking about.
I think there's only one that I can think of. There's one, maybe two, in close proximity to us, home-owned or private owner part stores. There's one more on top of that, so there's 2 or 3, private mom-and-pop style repair shops. And you go back into the 70s, every one of them had either a dragster or a dirt modified.
Oh yeah,
every one of them.
Yeah.
And there was 8 to 10 of them in a community versus 3 or 4. And the 3 or 4 that are there are struggling, and they definitely don't have race cars anymore. I mean, they do not have race cars, period.
And what's nice around here for the Derby drivers is we can get sponsors for Derby drivers, but to get a sponsor for drag racing is near impossible.
And I don't get that.
I mean,
because you're going to go out there and you're going to run that car potentially one time in front of, 2,000 people versus a drag car that you're going to theoretically run weekly. And yes, it's the same exposures. You're getting the same 800 people over and over again. But if you go run a special event or travel out of town, that's still exposure before a different 800 people. So now you're 1,600 people, 1,600 unique in 2 events, and you still have another dozen on the backside of that.
Right.
Yep. Just the numbers don't make sense. And you can definitely do a show and shine appearance with either a derby car or a dragster, a drag race car.
Right.
And I don't think either one of them draws the foot traffic it used to.
I mean, the derby car, you kind of got to do it when it's fresh because now you're worried about
somebody getting caught, somebody getting hurt, somebody getting sliced open or something like that. If you go, you go to a local business, you get a local business wants to support them, and then you want to do an appearance or something like that, the dragster's certainly going to look prettier.
Right.
But I don't know how much.
Well, that's just it. Around here, you take your nice drag car. Like the 67 Camaro, me and my brother did that all by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's not $1 million car by any means, but it's a very nice car. And we take it, we used to take it to car shows and stuff, and then we would lose to a brand new Camaro that nobody has got anything to. They just washed the damn thing.
Right,
and,
right.
So that we just kind of got tired of that, and so now we don't, rarely ever do we even take it to a car show.
Right.
We take a 1931 Model A, which was my grandfather's, and he had it redone, so it's my dad's shop, take it to a car show and show it, and we still lose to a brand new Camaro. And I'm talking a beautiful restore job, back to pretty much, factory seats, the green wire spoke wheels, everything is factory original. It's probably 93% factory original, which is really good for a resto.
Right.
Get the black every time, or a brand new Corvette, or just something just ridiculous, and you're like, man, what happened to the craftsmanship or the
so funny that
workmanship of a good car.
Your 90+% original Model A is being beat by somebody with a tub of turtle wax and a midlife crisis.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's disappointing.
And not only is this 31 Model A factory original, but it drives to the car show.
Right.
24 miles to the gallon. I don't know. The old 4-cylinder's got amazing fuel mileage.
Yeah, we got tired. I have to say, we got tired of the car show thing as well back in the 80s, because at that point in time, the pro street phenomenon was in full swing, and we'd take our race car out there, and we'd be basically in the same class as it was competition prepared. It was the class that you were in. So you'd be out there against the guys that had these brand new purpose built Carcraft magazine pro street cars, and be like, what? That's not a race car. I mean, that was a purpose built show car. I mean, that thing's never seen the track ever, and never is. And it's like, but what are you going to do? I mean, that's why you get to the point where you're like, all right, yeah, clearly if I'm going to have a race car, I can't do car shows because that's just not going to work.
But it also depends on who's hosting the car show too.
Oh, yeah, it definitely does.
Depending on the culture who's hosting
it definitely does.
If it's that culture that's into that scene that's hosting it, you're
Right.
not going to win no matter what you bring.
That's right.
Unless you bring something that they want to see there, it doesn't matter. That's why you never
We have a local
Chryslers when they're car shows.
We have a local Mustang club here in McCook, and they take their cars to the car show. One's pretty much a new Super Snake or whatever, not Super Snake, but GT 500. One's an old original 5.0 and all them cars, even the 2 brand new ones, they'll take on the plaques right next to a 67 Camaro that's been fully converted over to 2016 Corvette engine, tranny, everything's been redone. Probably a $200,000 car, but yet that new Mustang will kick his butt every time.
I remember fondly doing the Corvette Club shows, and it was the same thing. It's like, as soon as we pulled in, it was like, okay, you're not winning because of how dare you do that to a Corvette, right?
Right.
So yeah, it was the same thing. Car shows are boring anyways. So I mean, other than doing them for sponsor obligations, I have to say that I'm not much of a car show guy myself.
How many times can you listen to Life as a Highway through a course of an afternoon before you just want to jump off a bridge anyway?
Sometimes it's still nice. When I was younger, I really wanted to show off what we'd done, and then I just realized it doesn't matter because some guy's got $60,000 that he could spend on some junk, like you said, performance factory built car, and he's going to look better every time. Yeah.
Well, what do you think? We've been at this now for an hour and 20 minutes. If you can believe that.
We've had a pretty good show. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, that's good, man. I don't want to keep you all night. And is there anything that we missed about the cars or anything? I mean, we hit on a lot of topics.
Pretty much discussed. We hit a lot of topics.
We definitely did. Is there any likelihood then at this point that you're going to get a chance to get out, or that Larry's going to get out, or your dad's going to get out and race a little bit over the next couple of weeks?
Oh, my dad will be out. My dad will not miss a points race. That's almost a guarantee. And he tries to make every wheel of the race, which, that's everybody's dream. But he and Larry, we just, this weekend we might go to a derby. Next week we have 2 derbies. Then we have to get prepared for the Colorado Buddy Bash. Larry won that last year, so with a different teammate, I'm going to go out there this year with him and try to help him defend his title, I guess.
Well, keep us posted on how everybody's doing. Keep us posted on how everybody's doing at the track.
Yeah, and get out there and help your dad, for God's sakes.
You're more than welcome anytime. My wife live feeds every derby that we go to. I just have to pop in once in a while and check them out.
Well, we'll definitely keep a tab on that, and you guys got to go to the track with your dad a couple times and live feed some of his races.
If we do, it'll be in October, because for us, first race and last race, that's the fastest, and we'll go to Kearney just to gain that other half second.
That's cool.
Yeah, definitely keep us posted, because I want to see how your dad does. Hopefully, I want to hear at the end of the season he was points champ.
Well, he's in 5th place now, so he's still got a dang good shot. He's just going to have to keep with it.
Yep. Don't stumble now.
All right, guys. I really appreciate you having me on the show, and I suppose I'm sure I'll talk to you some other time.
Yes, we will. You'll be on again for sure. I just want to make sure that we can shoehorn everything onto try and get everything onto FingerLakes1.tv too, because I mean I've been happy just sit back and listen. This has been good. But Will, man, I appreciate you coming on the short notice and hanging out for a while. We'll definitely do it again. I know there's plenty more questions that we've got for some of the other builds, and I know you've got more pictures that you want us to know about.
All right, no problem. Yeah, just let me know. Maybe not so short notice, but if you do, that'll work too.
All right. I'll try to give you more time next time.
All right, no problem, bud.
Thanks,
Will.
Talk to you guys later.
Take care.
Wil Steinbeck hit on so many topics. I don't even know where to begin in terms of recapping that conversation. That was
we did hit on a lot of topics. I have to say at one point in time I kind of felt like the old curmudgeon bemoaning the fact that these young whippersnappers aren't getting outside and working on their cars, and they're more interested in video games. But it's unfortunately it's the truth. But it's like stop being so negative and go out there and drag a kid to the racetrack, I guess, right? I will say my oldest son Tim. I mean, he goes out to the track with his Audi occasionally, and I have to say I'm pretty proud of him overall. He does a lot more work on his car than you would think. It's crazy how the car culture has changed, and that when he wants to figure out how to fix something, yeah, he has to get his laptop out at times and look at tunes and stuff like that. But it's incredible the amount of resources that are available there. You go on YouTube and you type in 2000 Audi S4 window fix or something like that, and it's like, yep, there's a YouTube video that somebody posted and exact step-by-step instructions, and it's definitely different. We didn't have that available to us when we were younger, but it's nice the fact that it gives an opportunity for somebody who, now granted, he grew up in a household where he had resources and tools available to him, where if he got stuck, that he had somebody to go to. But yeah, if you're a little bit adventurous, I guess, you could certainly dive in and do some work on your own car if you want. The biggest problem around here is that I got a race car in the garage, so there's no place for him to work on it,
right.
and the weather stinks from basically November 1st to June 1st, so it's not exactly fun to work in the driveway, but it is still possible, and he enjoys taking his car to the track. And granted, I'm there to help him and kind of explain to him what's going on. But yeah, for God's sakes, if kids that are interested, get them out to the racetrack.
What else?
Whether it's a drag strip or a derby or circle track, right?
IHRA Double Pro-Am, $5,000 TNT Super Series race happened at Empire.
Yeah, well, no, that's coming up.
That's
coming up. So not this weekend, but a week from this weekend. Yeah, the Pro-Am, the Double Pro-Am at Empire is coming up, and TNT on Friday night has their $5,000 to win race. Last year they had 72 cars, I think,
Not bad.
that for $5,000 to win. And Ted does a great job. Ted Barnes runs that series. He does a great job with that. And he has a lot of additional prizes as well that he hands out for, best reaction time and stuff like that. So it's a fun race. And because there's so many cars, it's really competitive. So, yeah, that's going to be fun. Like I said, that's coming up. I think it's the 18th. Is that what the date ends up being?
I think so.
Something like that.
I didn't pull the Empire schedule.
So we'll be close to at that point. We'll have our 2 points races from Pittsburgh. We'll have 2 from Empire at that point, and then we're planning on going to Dragway 42. So we'll almost have a full slate of races to pull points from. So first round loser times 6. I think that'll put me like probably 60th or 70th in the country.
TNT is on the 18th. IHRA Divisionals coming up, and that runs concurrent with that TNT race,
Right,
18th, 19th,
right.
and 20th.
Yeah, yep.
So that's all jammed right in there together. Then the Lancaster Dragway, they've got their Hall of Fame inductions.
So that was last weekend. So yeah, the Niagara.
Little rain issue for them on Friday.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, Saturday too. It was tough. So Saturday was the Hall of Fame induction, and they ran. It was part of their Sunday Niagara show, which is a really big show. I actually saw Bill Curtis out at the track on Saturday, and so all the Gasser guys were out there, and it's a really big show. And then at the end of the night, they did their Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and this is the third year they've done it. Rob Kozak kind of heads that up, and this year you had John D., who was basically the tow truck guy out there for the longest time. So he was inducted as a contributor. And then you had Joe Schmitz, who was a super gas guy that raced against my dad, also had Schmitz Performance. So he went in as a driver and contributor. Donnie Razor, who part owner of Tread City Tire, big supporter of the Western New York SuperRod Association, but just drag racing in general in Western New York. He went in as a contributor and driver. And Paul Zagoda, who, interestingly enough, they're actually going to be at Lancaster this week. They're having 4 alcohol funny cars, and Zagoda's going to be one of them out there racing this weekend. And he's just been, again, a long-time drag racer out at Lancaster. So 4 deserving candidates that got in.
You mentioned Bill Curtis. The Gassers are going to be at Empire on Saturday the 12th, along with the Nostalgia Pro Stocks and the Ohio Supercharged Warriors.
Oh, so that's this weekend.
Hey, that's
yeah. So the guys that didn't go to Kentucky then are racing at Empire this weekend.
They're going to be back by now, or by Saturday. Best way to say that. Or assuming maybe they'll be back. Who knows?
I'm curious as to what. Someone's probably going to shame me for not knowing what's going on at Beach Bend this week, because I bet you it's a big event, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
I don't either. I've been nose deep in RC cars, graphics, and demolition derby since the 5th of July. We've been in a bunch of different cities. We've streamed a bunch of stuff. It's been good, but it's been busy.
Oh, yeah?
And it always is this time of year. It settles down for about 2 weeks, and then we make the trip down to Virginia, and then we go back to school.
Right.
So we'll have the couple days down in Virginia for that show. There's never any signal down there, but we always try to live stream it anyway. It's insanity. We're just banging our heads against the wall. We're doing the exact same thing that we always do and expecting different results. And we keep getting our fingers crossed, hoping that miraculously
one of these years
we'll
it'll work.
They'll put up a better pole someplace
right.
that's not blocked by a mountain. But I don't know. We'll know more on the 26th of August when we pull into the racetrack and have zero signal again.
Right. Now, 2 weeks from today, so that's going to put us at the 24th. So that'll be a week and a half before Labor Day there. Mm-hmm. So I would say because the Western New York SuperRod Association, we have our next 2 races Labor Day. And looks like I'm going to get the Corvette out, actually, for that set of races.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that should be fun, too. I was debating whether or not to run the Corvette at Empire this weekend, or next weekend, but I don't want to do the double enter thing just because you run around like a chicken with your head cut off, and I do this for fun. And
lunacy. It's too much pressure.
Yeah. So, end of the month.
You end up losing your routine, and then you make a silly mistake, and you end up beating yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I'm not good enough to be able to do that. There's other guys that are out there that can do it. You got Dan Fletcher and Billy Lieber, and you talked about just even local guys, right? Ken Iamilli. I mean, he doubles all the time, and those guys are good enough to do it. I'm not. I need to concentrate on one thing, and even then, I'm not good enough to even do that. So.
Duh. You're not good enough to do the double entry, but everybody's always good enough to beat themselves. Is that the message that we took away from one of our conversations?
Oh, there's no doubt.
Start taking care of 2 cars, and you lose your routine, and everything just gets thrown out the window.
Yeah. I was disappointed. I have to say, I was disappointed Saturday. I red lit by 1,000th on Saturday, which stunk. And I look back after the fact, and you look at the logbook and you're like, yeah, I should have had 5 more thousandths in the delay box. Why didn't I? And it's easy to say after the fact, but Sunday was a good race. I mean, I lost a good race to Doug Linden on Sunday. It was a real close race, but unfortunately, car went to the right. I lost a little bit of ET, but I don't mind losing like that. Red lighting stinks. I hate red lighting. It just. When you leave the starting line and you see the red light on and basically you already lost, you think to yourself, why am I even driving down the track at this point? So,
did you bring your little thing, your little reaction time?
I did, actually. Yeah I did. And quite honestly, I felt like it really did help. I hit the tree for probably 5 minutes before each round, and I think it did kind of help me concentrate a little bit. And again, leaving before the tree is activated is just inexcusable. And I'm not saying that everybody doesn't do it. I mean, I'm sure everybody that's done a drag race long enough has probably done it at some point or another. But yeah, that's bad. You can't be doing that. For God's sakes, concentrate. For God's sakes.
I feel like maybe that reaction time light that you built was the first fidget spinner.
That's it was prior to the fidget spinners. Maybe that's where they got the ideas. I have to say, though, I enjoy my fidget spinner on my desk. I sit there and play with it all day.
Perfect. That's your boss will love to hear that when he goes back and watches the show. Some good news that I wanted to relay. Nick Serino, I don't know if you've been following along with their GoFundMe.
Oh.
It's been out there for 2 months.
Yeah.
They've had contributions from, I think it was 121 different people.
Oh, nice.
And they have eclipsed their goal. They've gone over what they were hoping to raise. So
that's great.
That was good to see that. I saw that. Came across that. So that was exciting that they'd hit their mark. Their goal was 12,000. They were like 12,107.
Wow.
26 cents.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, that's good news for them. So that'll get the lift and the chair that Nick's. They need it.
Right.
They need it, and they raised the money for it. So that was very cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. It seems like it was a million years ago, but I mean that's really only just a few months ago that we
2 months
that we had them on the show.
It had the stat right on the GoFundMe page. It's been open for 2 months, and they raised everything they needed.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
It was great to see the generosity there that came together. We hit on most of the topics that you sent me. Great conversation with Will. I I'm glad that he was there to jump on, and we will have Wil on again. I mean, there's so much more stuff that we can get into in terms of the topics. I'm hoping that we didn't turn off any of our fan base, though, by having so much Derby conversation. But drawing the parallels between the two, it's a world that's so foreign, as you described, to see all the comparisons in terms of the ideas of trying to cross over the technology and stuff. It was kind of cool, and
yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe
it would be awesome to see a round back go down the track at 10 seconds.
Maybe I'm the odd guy, I guess, but I mean, I generally enjoy racing discussion regardless of the type of racing. Once you start talking about the technology that goes into it and techniques and strategies and things like that you use. So
there is virtually no overlap between dirt track racing and the 31st lap show that's on opposite us and demolition derby. It is rare that you find somebody that's into both.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the circle track guys do not want to talk about the demolition derby stuff. There's no room for that conversation. And again, that's the casual derby fan that fits in the middle of the bell curve. There's motorsports enthusiasts that'll listen to whatever has a big motor, makes a lot of noise.
Yep.
So, but it's always something that I'm in the back of my mind, because being new to the drag racing stuff is like, how much is their tolerance for twisted cars and bumpers that are shoved over carburetors?
Well, I guess I would say overall, I mean, have our viewers write in. If they hate the derby stuff, go ahead and send us some comments and say, hey, guys, we hate the derby stuff. Please don't talk about that. But I don't think that's the case, honestly.
Well, tonight, either my mom or this computer here that is sitting up screening what's going out are going to be the two people that would write in. So we don't have, or maybe it's your wife that's watching. I don't know. It could be that she decided to endure the whole hour and a half. I'm not sure. Have to see.
But yeah, we definitely need to have, like I said, we definitely need to have Nick back on. I mean, one of the things we need to do is, and I'm going to basically call some drag racers out here. We need to get some people in the studio here, and it's been a while since we've had a guest in the studio, and I realize that. Seneca Falls isn't necessarily around the corner from Buffalo or Jamestown or anything like that. But we need to get some guys in the studio here, and I understand it's a busy time of year, so it's.
And our schedule's been erratic too. I mean, I'll own that for sure. But we knew that going in, that this time of year was going to get a little sloppy in terms of trying to keep the wheels on it, because we were spending time out of town. I got to tell you, or we got to have a production meeting, because I got to tell you about Utah, and what. We broke a window on one of the officials' trucks when the side-by-side that we rented inadvertently did a donut on purpose.
Uh-huh.
And that wasn't the worst part of the weekend.
This should be interesting. We'll take that off air so we don't have to air the dirty laundry to everybody.
We recapped it on the crash course. I mean, I'm not hiding anything from anybody, but the weekend resulted in a running the table of lost security deposits across the board. You name it, we touched it, security deposit gone.
Yeah. That's not a good weekend.
Did I show you the picture of the wagon that come up?
No.
Oh, that was the first of the 2 ER trips.
I did see on your Facebook page, I will say I saw you mention the ER trip. And I was like, what is that all about?
Indeed. One of the guys that we stayed with, though, has a original 1968 Roadrunner.
Yeah.
With an original 383 that he's restoring. So I can't wait to see that when he's done. I'll get you some pictures of that, because I know you can't wait to see the I'm wrong. It was a Super B.
Okay.
It was a Super B.
Yep.
But I know you can't wait to see the picture of the Super B.
You're right. I like Super Bs. I think they're cool cars. They're cool cars, no doubt.
All right. What do you think? We good here? Cover all our bases?
Well, we covered a bunch of them, certainly. I don't know that we covered them all, but we covered a bunch of them.
Hour and 40 minutes. It's the longest show on record for us.
Is it? Yeah. Actually, I think we basically cut it off at an hour and a half, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yep. We got another minute and a half. We'll get the intro playing through, and we'll be out of here. That's going to do it for this one from the North Park building here at Academy Square and the main offices of Finger Lakes One. We appreciate everybody watching, hanging out with us, and good show tonight. I'm looking forward to having more of these things. That was a real good conversation. Appreciate Will making time for us, Jason making the trip in, and we'll be back again in 2 weeks. Do another one for the final round. It'll be episode 20 coming up in 2 weeks. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.
This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.